Welcome to day 6 of the 75 Hard Challenge YouTube edition. Today, I thought I would just style my curls, waves, whatever you want to call it, while we talk about how I started reading. Let's go. I feel like I started reading kind of late because I started when I was 16, I think, when I was still in high school. No, that's a lie. I really enjoyed reading when I was maybe 13. I don't know. I never really got influenced to buy books, so I never did. I would read books for school, and I read City of Bones. I remember reading that book, and I remember I loved it so much. But then, that was all I read on that year. But then I revisited it when I was 16 because a friend of mine was getting her books from our school library. So I was like, I might do the same. And then I asked for a recommendation from the librarian, and she recommended Let It Snow by John Green and 2 other authors. And I was like, why is this so good? I fell in love right then and there. And reading was such an escape for me. I didn't even know that Goodreads existed. I remember I had a phase that I started really loving like crime investigation type of books. So what's his name? Robert Brinska? Something like that. I can't remember right now because it's been so long. But I remember I loved reading about crime investigation, and one of my favorites to this day, I really want to reread it, Blood on Snow by Joe Nesbo. I used to love his books, and I read that Snowman book. I was really bored kind of because it took so long for the story to develop, but at the same time I loved it. And then I read Mindhunter, and that completely threw me off because it was not what I expected. It was more of like a biography, I felt like, and I didn't really care about his life. I just wanted to know about the murders and how he solved them. He was more focused on his life, so that made me not really like crime investigation books anymore. But I rediscovered romance, and at the time I read a book called It Ends With Us. I was in college by this point. I was gifted this book, and I remember I read it and I loved it. Of course, really shocked at the end. You know what? I'm gonna admit to this. Colleen Hoover used to be my favorite author. Yeah, I know. That's why I say that she's a good author for starting to read, but once you refine your taste with reading, you just start to hate her, honestly, because her writing, scary. But anyway, then pandemic hit. I joined TikTok and I saw booktok, and I was like, love that. So I used to get tons of recommendations from booktok. I started getting like so into reading romance. I hadn't really started reading fantasy until 2022, so 2 years after that. That's when I discovered ACOTAR. I was like, fairies? Okay. I started reading ACOTAR, and I was like, okay. Weirdly enough, the guy with bat wings doesn't weird me out. It's kind of cool, actually. And that's when I fell in love with fantasy. So everything really just started at, like, for me, on booktok. I even started a booktok account at the time, but I didn't know like how to do it properly, and I would get a little embarrassed to post. So lame. I kind of gave up on it because I already had a YouTube channel at that time, but it was about makeup. I can talk about this in a different video actually, like how I started creating content. The first year I properly used Goodreads was like 2021. I read like 25 books, I think. But yeah, that's when it hit for me. I loved talking about books, but didn't have anyone to talk about books with. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I can find a Discord server that talks about books. Surely someone created one, right? I got into 2 servers, and in one of them, I got a really good friend of mine. I met her. I don't know how we ended up friends because we were just like 2 moderators of that book server because it was really tiny when we joined. I don't know. We wouldn't shut up until we got our phone numbers, And when I went to England, I met her and now she's one of my besties. It's so crazy how books impacted my life through like meeting new friends. I discovered that I'm a mood reader. So I cannot maintain a TBR to save my life. And I feel like I can't read too much fantasy, like one after the other. I have to like break it down with, well, cleanse my palate is what people say, with contemporary romance. But at this point, I mainly read romance. I used to be obsessed with reading spice, but not so much anymore. I don't really care about it. I guess growing in my Christianity really made me lose interest in that. So I only care about romance. Yes, that's still a fact, but not so much on smut. Yeah, my hair is styled. Now I have to wait for it to dry, which it's gonna take a couple hours because I don't have a diffuser. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't watched the previous days, I have a playlist already. It's probably in the description and at the end of this video. I've been having so much fun doing this 75 hard challenge. It's making me more used to recording content because it used to be such an event for me, but now it's much more casual and that's exactly what I wanted. I want this to feel like we're on FaceTime. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for day 7. Is that day 7? Oh my gosh, I lost count already. So it hasn't been a week. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!